Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zainab Haider and I'm a 16-year-old student at Haider Islamic School's Leader of My Destiny class. This show is being brought to you by Islamic Youth, an online platform aiming to provide the youth with resources to tackle some of the biggest problems they face. I'm currently a GCSE student preparing for my exams and I will be your co-host for today's show alongside with...
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Tara Haider and I'm an A-level student. And as someone who's already sat public exams before, I can confidently say that the importance of these exams that we're taking at our age is vital to be properly understood to appreciate what's required from students. But equally important, we as students need to acquire different forms of dealing with the pressure and stress that comes with these exams.
This show is for young people, by young people, and it takes the format of asking relevant questions in order to find the most relevant answers.
And to help us tackle this topic, we have with us Zamina Rehemtulla, a secondary school maths teacher in training. Zamina has a range of experience including running Islamic youth workshops, coaching and mentoring young people, and tutoring GCSE level maths. Zamina has an intense passion towards inspiring the youth to achieve their greatest potential and progressing communities.
Zamina, could you give an introduction to yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Zamina. Like Tara said, I'm a secondary school maths teacher, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you guys about the importance of dealing with exam stress. How do we deal with it? What are some strategies that we can use? And also, can we turn that stress into something productive and something useful to spur us on and to motivate us to do well in our exams?
So, as you are a teacher, why is this issue so important for you particularly?
Sure. I'm a young person myself. I'd like to call myself a young person. I don't know if I still count as a young person, but when I was doing my GCSE exams, I went through an extreme period of anxiety. Really, really stressed out and overwhelmed at the thought of not being able to do as well as I knew I could. And I suffered from really severe anxiety. I suffered from panic attacks about 6 months before my exams. And so it was all kind of piling on top of my head. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And once I started talking to some people, I was talking to my family about it, they helped me with ways that we can go into in a little bit about how I could manage my stress and deal with my emotions and put that to one side or use that to encourage me to revise even harder, to revise even smarter, because sometimes when we revise hard, we're not necessarily revising smart. And to ultimately do my exams. You know, it was a struggle for me to sometimes even get into the exam hall. So for me to even get there and sit on that little awkward table that you get with your little name card at the front, that was a struggle for me. And that became an achievement for me. And so I started breaking down this whole situation that I was playing out in my head and started breaking it down and started giving myself a little pat on the back for every small thing that I did. And so, like I said, I dealt with the anxiety myself. And now as a teacher, I see so many young people come to me and they say, "Miss, I'm stressed. I'm so scared. I'm not going to do as well as I think I can." And the beauty is they know they can do well. They know that they can get that 4 or that 5, they can pass, they can get that 8, that 9, whatever you're aspiring to get, you can achieve it. However, the anxiety is crippling at times and it stops us from doing as well as we could do. And if we can educate our young people on how to deal with that anxiety, then they really can achieve their greatest potential.
And leading on from that, how would you say that the stress and anxiety would impact performance and grades?
I think it's a mental game. So, for example, when I would feel stressed or anxious, I would go into a bit of a hole, and I like to call it analysis paralysis. My overthinking would get so much that I would stop and I wouldn't do anything. And it wasn't conducive to someone that wanted to do well in their GCSEs or their A-levels or any exams. And so this is the reason that I think it's so important, firstly, that we speak about this, but also acknowledge that those mental health issues that people might be going through, that I certainly went through, really can have an impact on, yes, your GCSE exams, but far beyond. They can impact our self-esteem, they can impact our self-worth, and ultimately our health is far more important than how well we do in a couple of exams. Yeah, so we need to be able to prioritize and to balance really what's important, but push ourselves enough through the stress that we can achieve the grades that we should be achieving. What about you guys? How has the anxiety or the stress impacted you guys during exam periods?
Yeah, well, I'm about to sit my exams, and I definitely do understand what you say about analysis paralysis, but I think the main thing to keep in mind is your anxiety. I think we're about to speak about this, but it is going to help you to a certain extent, but I think it's about how you utilise it. Tara, what about you?
Well, I sat my GCSEs last year, and I did feel quite an overwhelming amount of stress leading up to it. But I think about a month before, I started to realise that I was stressing way too much. It's not going to help me do better. So it's better to just calm down, revise what I can in the time I have, and just do my best. And whatever outcome I get, that's what I get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you mentioned this in your intro about the stress being productive. So are there any benefits of the stress, and how so?
I think so. I think there absolutely are. Often stress is painted in this very negative light. However, I think there is such a thing as good stress. Ultimately, and it's a bit cliche to say, but ultimately to be anxious and to be stressed about something firstly shows that you care. And secondly, it proves that you have what I like to call skin in the game. Okay? It means that the outcome of what you're doing has an impact on your future. And we know, right, that GCSEs, A-level exams, university exams, these types of public examinations do impact our future. I think the way that we can flip this negative light of stress into a good stress is by changing our perspective. It's ultimately to realize that the anxiety that I'm going through is nothing but a symptom of the fact that I care and that I want to do well. And when I flip that perspective, I am able to allow that anxiety, because what is anxiety? Anxiety and stress is when cortisol, the stress hormone, is released in your body. When that hormone is released in your body, you enter fight or flight, okay? I am someone who flies. I fly far away, I used to. Now I've learned to turn that adrenaline into fight. Cortisol is the same stress hormone that gets released, for example, when you go on a roller coaster or when you go deep sea diving. Okay, so there is evidence to show that stress can be good and it can be beneficial in small amounts, right? It's about changing our perspective and understanding as well that these periods of stress and anxiety that we're going through, yes, they are helping us get through our exams, but they are also teaching us life skills. They are teaching us determination, they're teaching us patience, and they're teaching us to deal with stressful situations in our lives. And this is certainly not the last time that young people like yourselves may go through stressful situations. And so if you can have an experience of it now and deal with it now, then you're far better equipped to deal with it later on in life.
Yeah, I think me and Tara were having this discussion earlier about the importance of GCSEs and how she's been through it a year before me, so we both had different perspectives. But one thing that really stood out to me is you spoke about working smarter and not harder, and that's something I think Tara also mentioned vaguely to me as well. So could you just elaborate on that a bit and explain what it is?
Sure, so there are a lot of different exam strategies that I as a teacher talk to my students about. One I really enjoy is called the Pomodoro effect. Okay, so it's when you work in 25-minute intervals. You work for about 20 minutes, and the last 5 minutes you take a break. And then again, you work 25-minute intervals, you work for 20 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. Once you've done 4 sets of 25-minute intervals, you take a slightly longer break. Now, the key for me during that 5-minute break was don't use my phone. Get out of the room that I'm studying in and get some fresh air. So go outside, drink some water whilst I'm walking around my garden or walking downstairs. But the keys for me were don't use the phone because I get into an endless scroll, and get out of the room that I'm studying in to change my environment and change my mindset. So then when I come in, I'm ready to do that solid 20 minutes again. What about you? Do you have any strategies that worked for you during GCSEs?
I use a technique called blurting. Some may know it as brain dumping, where I'll review my notes for a couple minutes and then I'll put my notes away and just make a mind map of everything I remember.
Okay.
Once I've done that, I'll look back on my notes and in a different colour pen, I'll write down the things I'll fill the gaps of my knowledge.
I see.
And I'll put that mind map maybe on my wall or something so I can see it constantly. And then I'll repeat that with the same topic across the span of a week. And then by the end, my knowledge has pretty much filled up. So I know what to revise and what not to revise.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
that seems really useful. Yeah.
What about yourself, Zainab? Do you use anything at the moment that's helping you?
I am actually blessing as well, and it actually is beneficial, but also just exam practice, really. My teachers have told me of so many times where people, they know the knowledge and they do it, but they don't do things under time conditions.
Yes.
So I think having that mock experience really does make a difference, because I remember during my mocks, I was so frustrated about having to do 2 sets, but in retrospect, I do realise that they've definitely made me a lot calmer for the exam that I'm about to embark on.
Yeah, you're right, and just to pick up on that, there is something to be said about having the knowledge, but also this exam technique that you're talking about is crucial, and I'll tell you why. Because as a teacher, I look at mark schemes all the time, and I'm a maths teacher, so I'll give you a maths example. You might have a question that's worth 3 marks, okay? And you can work out the answer in your head. You don't actually have to write down any working out to figure out what the answer is. And so you'll write the answer down. But when an examiner comes to mark that, you'll only get 1 mark out of 3, which is 33%. So imagine getting 33% in your exam, you know, compared to all of the calculations that you're doing in your head. If you were to actually write them down, you'd be getting that 3 out of 3 and you'd be getting that 100% per question. So exam technique is critical. Doing it in time conditions, doing it in a place that's quiet, an unfamiliar place is really important. Don't just do it in your bedroom, because that's somewhere you feel comfortable. Try and replicate as much as you can an exam situation, yeah? But then also look through mark schemes, look through examiner reports, see what the common misconceptions are that students have, and see where exactly you are being awarded marks.
Yeah, I definitely think that helps with the stress. I think Tara had something to say about the strategies to manage the stress.
Yes. I was going to say, do you have any strategies you can recommend to help manage when stress gets too excessive?
So one of my favourite ways that I learned to manage my stress, and this was during my GCSEs times, it was becoming crippling. My anxiety was really, really bad. And there were points where I thought, I'm just not going to do it. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. There's no point of me doing this. And my mum took me to a yoga class. She took me to a yoga class and I thought, I don't want to do this. This is a waste of my time. I could be revising. And when I say revising, I'm just staring at a wall, freaking out. And she said, no, Zam, let's go, you'll enjoy it. We went to the yoga class, and in yoga, it's really important that you combine your movement with your breath. In yoga, breath is the most important thing. And I slowly realized in life that being able to control my breath and take power over my breathing helped me manage my anxiety, helped me manage my blood pressure, helped me manage my sweaty palms and getting just completely overwhelmed by life situations, including exams. And so learning how to breathe, I mean really learning how to breathe, because we're all sitting here, we're all breathing. The people watching us sitting there breathing. We don't think twice about it. But when we actually consciously breathe and take 3 deep breaths and get back into our body and get out of our heads where the anxiety lives, you are much more able to, in a grounded way, then approach the situation, for example, the exam paper that's in front of you. So for me, breathing was something that was really, really helpful in my journey.
Yeah, you mentioned your parents just there. So I wanted to ask, what is the impact of parents or external influences on your stress or just your capability?
Sure. Parents can be really helpful in an exam period. They can also be not so helpful, although they're trying to be helpful, and our parents always did their best for us, alhamdulillah. I think it's crucial that parents don't put their own anxiety and stress on their children. You know, if you know that your child is struggling to manage their anxiety, maybe avoid constantly asking them, how are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about this? Because it's just a parent projecting anxiety onto their child, which is not going to create any less anxiety in that child. In the same way, I was speaking to a parent yesterday who spoke about how he talks to his daughter and he says that the most important things for you are your health and your mental well-being, your physical health and your mental well-being. And he added a third one to say that you try your best. Because I know how great you are. I love you so much. And whatever you get in your exams is not going to change the fact that you have intrinsic value. You know, God loves you, I love you, and you're my daughter. And it won't change that. So I think it's really important that parents send messages of support and love to their children and try and avoid adding to the anxiety. What about you guys? How have your parents supported you through exam seasons?
Well, I've just had my mocks and during the exam season and the time leading up to it, my mum said that as long as you manage your stress and you don't worry yourself too much, just do your best, revise what you can without letting revision take up time where you'd be sleeping. Just sleep your full night, revise what you can, don't let it take over your life, and just do your best. And it doesn't really matter what you get, because it's not you tried your best, it's not going to change anything.
That's really important as well, making sure we get enough sleep. That's a beautiful message. Bless your mum. What a beautiful message. Enough sleep and try your best. There's something really to be said, isn't there, about how important and how impressive and courageous it is for a human being to just try their best. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, similarly, alhamdulillah, my parents, they were the same thing, really. So we've seen that academic results can be hugely important, you know, for both parents or for students themselves. But if someone is more interested in practical subjects or wants to go into an apprenticeship or a career, how is what we've spoken about today still relevant for them?
Sure. It's a wonderful question, and it's very relevant, because I love that you're bringing in this other side to education. Sometimes we see education very one-dimensionally and we see it as academia. But that's not true, and people certainly have skills in other departments that can be as valuable as those people that are skilled in academia. Like we said, these are life skills. You're learning determination, you're learning patience, you're learning how far you can push yourself. That's critical. To learn how far you can push yourself at a young age means that you are equipped with the ability to push yourself further later on in life. And you know your limits. You know that you might need that 8 hours sleep. You know that using the Pomodoro effect, in my 5-minute break, I must get some fresh air. I must see the sunlight to make me feel good. I must listen to my favorite podcast for 5 minutes to make me laugh, to get me out of that zone of intense focus. You know, it's teaching you life skills, and that's what I want us to focus on here, is that the ability to overcome anxiety, to overcome stress. Like I said, this is not going to be the last stressful situation that people your age deal with. It might be one of the first really intense situations of stress that they deal with. And so it's a beautiful learning curve for people your age to look at themselves, to reflect after the exam season and say, how did I deal with that? And how can I deal with it in a better way, a more productive way next time? And I don't think that's limited to people doing exams. In apprenticeships, you might be in high stressful jobs, you might be doing, you know, assessments or things that are recorded, things that are observed. You might feel stress in any point in life. And like I said, I think these are values that can span across your life and not just are relevant to an exam period.
So thank you so much, Zamina, for all that really helpful advice. You know, turning stress into productivity, working smarter, not harder. It's all really beneficial for us. And so thank you to the viewers for watching.
And thank you to Ahlulbayt TV and Hadley Islamic School for helping create this platform for the voice of the youth to be heard.
If you want to see more shows like this, there are 5 other shows you can watch for the youth by the youth. Thank you for watching.